Hari Om friends, and welcome to the fifth part of the series on the Karnataka Empire, popularly known as the Vijayanagara Empire. In this part, we will look at the one person who single-handedly wreaked havoc on Hindu kingdoms of Rajputana, Gujarat, and Dakshinapatha, which is southern India, and it was Alauddin Khilji. So I know this part has been a long time in coming. I, as usual, got sidetracked in some other activities, but I have picked up the threads now. So hopefully I'll get back into the routine. So last time we had a look at Alauddin Khilji's invasions of Gujarat, Devgiri, and how he used each of these invasions to actually fund his further conquests. And at the same time, he was also facing threats from the Mongol invaders further up north. And at times they also progressed right up to Delhi. So where we left off last time was when the temple of Somanatha was destroyed by the Muslims and the Shivlinga was broken into different pieces and taken away by Ulugh Khan. So Alauddin Khilji didn't go on the Gujarat campaign. Instead, he sent Ulugh Khan to kind of completely plunder and ravage Gujarat. And I also spoke of Kanhadade Sonigara, the ruler of Jalore, which is on the border of Gujarat and Rajasthan. And he had refused to allow Alauddin Khilji's army to march through his territory to attack Lata, which is Gujarat. And we ended the part with the destruction of Somanath Mandir. So this was in the year 1299 of the Common Era, or 4400th year of the Kali Yuga. And Ulugh Khan, who was leading the Muslim army for the Gujarat invasion, on the way back, now because they had won such a spectacular victory and the Hindu opposition was completely destroyed, and they had completely destroyed Gujarat financially, monetarily, in every wise, and they were taking around 9 lakh or because in Kannada Prabandha the number is given. I'm not sure if it's 9 lakh or 90 lakh. It could be a huge number because trade in Hindu slaves was very big business right down up to Mughal times, and millions of Hindus were sold as slaves. So Ulugh Khan, now he had become very arrogant, and he decided that this time I will go through Kanadade's territory and I'm going to completely, and if he tries to stop me, I'm going to destroy his kingdom as well. So he entered the territory of Jalore, and Kanadade obviously got news of this. So yes, I got the correct number now. So Kanadade Prabandha says around 90 lakh Hindus were made slaves by the Muslims and were being taken to Delhi to be sold as cattle. So quoting from Kanadade Prabandha, from the translation by Professor Bhatnagar, they made Brahmanas, women and children captive and tied them with strips of raw hide. The number of prisoners made by them was beyond counting. Okay, so huge number of prisoners. Now, Kanadade was, from the Prabandha, it looks like he was a little bit uncertain of what needed to be done. So, whether he should allow Ulugh Khan to pass through or he should, face off with him. So, Kanadade Prabandha says that at this critical juncture, he had a divine vision. So, Sonigara had a divine vision. And he saw goddess Ganga and Parvati come to him in a dream. And again, I'm quoting from Kanadade's Prabandha, I'm quoting verbatim. So, the goddesses said, "Wake up, O immortal one." So they are addressing Kanadeva Sonigara. The Ashwapati, which is Alauddin. So the Muslim sultans were known as Ashwapati because their main strength was in cavalry. So the Ashwapati is taking away Somanatha through your desha. Earlier, Rama had freed Rudra from the demons. Bali, son of Virochana, got Shiva freed. Now you come forward, O Kanadeva. O brave one, do not delay. Whoever will get Lord Somanatha freed, he will be absolved of all the sins. So some people say obviously that these divine things are kind of the poet's way of transmitting a message. But if you look at a lot of great Hindu rulers, Maharana Pratap, Chhatrapati Shivaji, Rana Sanga, a lot of Krishna Dev Rai, a lot of the big Hindu rulers, Hayar Rai, Bukka Rai, all of them, if you read their histories, the divine vision is mentioned in almost every episode. So obviously, we should kind of try and stop looking at everything through a very rational Western lens. Again, that lens is limited to a very specific segment of the Western population. It's not like the whole West subscribes to this lens. So what Kanada did was Kanadade sent his envoys to visit Ulugh Khan's camp, and there they saw the terrible suffering of the Hindus. And this is described by Padmanabha, Kavi Padmanabha. So he says, children separated from their mothers were crying. People were hungry, thirsty, and sick. Some were tied with iron shackles, which is iron chains, while others were tied with straps of leather. And the envoys went back to Kanadade. They were well received by Ulugh Khan because, diplomats and messengers, they are always well received, even today. So they told to Kanardev Sonigara that this is what is going on, and our fellow Hindus are suffering in this manner. So he made an oath, and he said, I will take meals only after I have destroyed the Mlechas and freed Lord Somanath and the captives, because the Ulugh Khan's army was also taking fragments of the stone because they had smashed the Shivlinga. So this was something very spectacular because the Rajput army attacked the Muslim camp in the night. And this is why you have to read Professor Bhatnagar's translation of Kanadade Prabandha. The description of the night attack itself is fantastic. It reads like a very well written, war fiction. And the Rajputs used a stratagem similar to Chhatrapati Shivaji's when he attacked Shaista Khan. So tricked the Muslims as to the direction of the attack. Thousands of torches were lit on the eastern side of the Muslim camp. So the guards could see a lot of light coming from there. But they attacked from the other direction and they smashed down the gates, killed the guards, and it was very bloody close quarter combat, so hand-to-hand combat, because there was a lot of confusion in the Muslim rank. Fires broke out, people started killing each other in the confusion. And again, to quote Padmanabha, the Rajputs, by powerful blows of their sharp-edged swords, cut asunder the armor of the elephants and horses. So these were the khandas, very sharp. The khanda is a type of sword which can cut through armor as well, while their khandas hacked away at the limbs of the Turki troops. So total carnage. So the camp was pretty much destroyed. The Muslim army suffered horrendous losses, with Ulugh Khan barely escaping with his life. Two prominent commanders, also known as Maliks, were captured, and thus Kanadade freed the Hindu captives, and he also secured the pieces of the Shivlinga of Lord Somnatha. And I believe these were consecrated at different parts in Jalore fort. Obviously later on that fort went into Muslim hands, so I don't know what is the status presently. So this was, I had to narrate this incident because it's not like the Muslims had a free run. See, even in partition or even in situations where Hindus were very badly outnumbered, like in 1948 there was the massacre of around 150 Hindus in a place called Bairanpalli, and I think that's been covered in the new movie called Razakar by the Muslims. So the Hindus were outnumbered, they were outgunned, because this was Nizam's army, not the rebel Razakar militia with swords and sickles kind of thing, who attacked them, and they bait off the attack, and finally obviously they couldn't stand against guns and bullets, but they fought back. So in times where Hindus have been well armed, we have kind of literally made them cry tears of blood. So this is where we really need to go back now. Be armed, be mentally prepared, and not be dependent on any political party or any organization for our security. So we have to take the initiative into our own hands. Okay, so let's move forward. And again, I created this map many years back. I think it's close to, I don't know what, 14 years now. So this map is a little bit of fast forward because this shows the situation in Bharat around 1320 CE. Remember, we are still in early 1300s right now. But I just wanted to point out the general situation in early 1300s. So where, let's get the laser pointer on. So where Devgiri or Daulatabad was, so this was the kingdom of the Yadavas of present-day Maharashtra. In 1320, obviously, this was completely part of Delhi Sultanate. There wasn't any independent rule over there. Warangal was under the Kakatiyas, and Pratap Rudra, a very again brave and able ruler, was ruling the Kakatiya kingdom. Hoysalas were under again very able ruler, Veer Ballala III. And then you had down south, you had Pandyas, and you had the Samudripads of Calicut and so on. So this was the situation in 1300s. And the Kakatiyas ruled over a vast area, including most of Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, large parts of Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Orissa. And these were Suryavamshi Kshatriyas. Some of you might know that Queen Rudrama Devi, was the ruler of Kakatiya Vamsha before 1300. She was a very able and fantastic ruler as well. Even now, her inscriptions are found all over Telangana. So Pratap Rudra was her son, and she was very capable, and she had fought off aggressive attempts by Yadavas of Devgiri to expand into Kakatiya territory. And I'm quite sure that the Muslim invasions started much prior to that, but they were beaten back. And this is also attested in fragmentary inscriptions. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Now, the first invasion of Warangal actually took place in 1304 CE. So this is a few years after the invasion of Gujarat and the defeat of the Muslim army at the hands of Kanhardev Sonigara in Jalore, which was around 1300-1301. So a large Muslim army led by Malik Fakhruddin Jinnah. Now, who was Malik Fakhruddin Jinnah? This is very interesting. He was the future Muhammad Tughlaq. Okay, excuse me. And Malik Jaju of Karra. So Karra is a province in Uttar Pradesh. Was dispatched to plunder the riches of Warangal. Now there are two different versions of this. K.S. Lal, Kishori Saran Lal, Professor Kishori Saran Lal, says that this was actually an army which was heading to Bengal via Warangal, and Warangal was only incidental to their plan. So their main invasion was actually invasion of Bengal. So now part of Bengal was under Muslim hands, but a large part of Bengal was under Hindu hands. So what is modern day Sylhet in Bangladesh, was Srihatta, was in proper Hindu hands, under Hindu rulers. But a part of Bengal was under Muslim hands, and it had become pretty much independent for almost 100 years. So every Muslim Sultan from Delhi wanted to kind of capture Bengal, but the terrain and the distance all made it a very expensive proposition. Plus Delhi was never secure, so their ever-present worry was trying to secure Delhi and then capturing the other places, which was why it was not possible for every ruler to kind of venture out of Delhi. But in Warangal, obviously, Telangana Hindus are very staunch Hindus, and they're very brave Hindus as well. So the Hindus of Warangal were prepared for them. So armies led by Pratap Rudra's commanders, I'm not sure if I'm spelling them right, Portuganti, Maldi, and Venna, among others, so met the Muslims at a place called Upparapalli in Karimnagar district. And in the ferocious battle which took place, a large part of the Muslim army was destroyed, and whoever survived had to kind of run away pretty much. So this first attack ended in complete disaster and Alauddin Khilji kind of bottled up the plans for a few years, because the Mongols were again advancing right up to Delhi. So one of the Mongol chiefs called Tarki, he penetrated right up to Siri, which is a part of modern day Delhi. That was Alauddin's capital. So Delhi had 7 cities. Everybody tried to make his own subdivision, and he had an army of 20,000 Mongol cavalry. So Alauddin Khilji was forced to kind of shelter in the Siri fort because the entire army was down south. So he had a very narrow escape, and like the cat has 9 lives. So Alauddin Khilji was like that. All the most evil people are like that. They seem to kind of go on forever. So the first invasion ended in disaster, but the second invasion, which took place. Okay, so let me switch off the laser pointer. Okay, there we go. So we saw in the previous set of slides that Alauddin Khilji made a surprise attack on Devgiri, and with the enormous treasure he looted, became Sultan of Delhi. So Kakati kingdom, obviously it had beaten off the first attack very successfully. So it was high on the hit list. Now in this he was aided by his general and lover, Malik Kafur. Now Malik Kafur had an interesting history. So he was originally Hindu from Khambat on the coast of Gujarat. And at some point he had been bought by a Muslim merchant, and I think he was converted into Islam, or he was converted previously, I don't know. So his nickname was Malik Hazar Dinari. Hazar means 1,000 and Dinar means gold dinars or gold coins. So because his price was 1,000 gold dinars, so he was called Malik Hazar Dinari. And Ulugh Khan, was when he sacked Khambat, he confiscated Malik Kafur from his owner, and he was taken to Delhi. So by various accounts, he was a very handsome youth who attracted the Sultan's attentions. Chroniclers like Ziauddin Barni are quite explicit in the details of Alauddin's sexual infatuation towards Malik Kafur. So it is quite hypocritical nowadays, when Muslims cry foul on homosexuality, when quite a few of the Ghazis or their warriors and sultans had a liking for, young boys. So this is quite open in Islamic history if you read any of the original translations. Now, castration of Hindu slaves, Hindu males, and making them eunuchs was an integral part of the Islamic slave system. So S.L. Bhairappa has quite wonderfully described it in his novel Avarana. So there's a very good translation by Sandeep Balakrishna, who runs a website called Dhamma Dispatch and was been kind of writing and speaking for a very long time. I've read Bhairappa's Marathi and English versions, and obviously the Indian language version is much superior. I haven't read the ordinary Kannada one, but it's a novel, Avarana, which you should definitely read. So the castration of captured men ensured that they would not be able to reproduce and dilute the Muslim bloodlines. So this practice started very early on in the Muslim conquest of Persia, Iran, Iraq, and so on, which was why there were millions of Africans or blacks who were slaves, but you don't find that evidence now because they were eunuchs, so they couldn't really reproduce, mingle with Muslim women or Arab women. And this system continued in our country. So as per Professor K.S. Lal, the present day system of hijras in our country is a direct consequence of the distinct class of eunuchs created by the Muslim rulers. So this was big business even in Mughal times. And Malik Kafur was a very daring and capable, person, whatever other things he did. So he became the second most powerful man in the Delhi Sultanate after Alauddin Khilji. And when Alauddin Khilji died due to dropsy, now Barani says that Kafur poisoned Alauddin as well. So Kafur became the ruler for a short while, and he also met a gruesome end in 1316 of the Common Era. He was trying to play the kingmaker in Delhi. So this image is a very fanciful reconstruction done in the 19th century by some English author. So I just put it there, just for some entertainment value. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. So around 1306, Devgiri had also gone through some changes. Now Shankardeva, again, I'm not sure if it's the son-in-law or one of the sons of Ram Raya. He had taken over the administration of Devgiri, and he had defeated the Muslim, occupiers put into place, and brought Devgiri back to its former independence. Now, obviously, this was not tolerable because this was their beachhead into Dakshinapatha or southern India. So Devgiri had to be recaptured. So two expeditions started from Delhi in 1306. One was led by Malik Ahmad Jitam. Its purpose was to defeat Karnadev. So Karnadev, the former ruler of Gujarat, was somewhere in the Devgiri domains, and he was trying to raise an army to recover Gujarat and completely extinguish resistance in Gujarat, and also to capture his daughter Devala Devi. So his wife had already been captured, and she was forced into the Sultan's harem in Delhi. And that was the same fate which met his daughter as well. The second expedition was under Malik Kafur, with subduing, Ram Raya, okay, or Ramachandra Dev of Devgiri. So Malik Kafur, by reports, started with almost 100,000 cavalry, and in March 1307 clashed with Shankardeva outside Devgiri. Now Shankardeva, being aware of Kafur's advance and the strength of his army, he had gathered all his forces, but the problem was when you try and fight pitched battles with armies which are superior in cavalry, and you concentrate in one place, because the Muslims used all kinds of stratagem which the Hindus didn't, especially deceit, treachery, breaking treaties. So the dice was always loaded against Hindu rulers, because even though we saw Kannada Dev carried out night attacks, there was always a set boundary which they would not cross. but the Muslims obviously had no such boundaries. So Shankar Dev was defeated, I believe he was killed by Malik Kafur, and that was the end of Devgiri. So I've also kind of traced in this, I'll describe the invasion of Warangal in more detail in the next slides because we already kind of gone beyond the 20 minutes mark. So this again is a very old map, little bit inaccurate, but will do. So this was the traditional route to get into the Deccan. So from Delhi you went to Agra, Agra to Chanderi, from Chanderi to Achalpur. Okay, it's also known as Ilichpur. So this is in Vidarbha. This is quite close to Akola, a place where I studied. And Achalpur is quite well known because a lot of these old coins are found there. So from Maratha era, from the Sultanate era, from the Khandesh Sultans, all those different rulers. Because Achalpur is a very strategic place. This is the entry point. So here are the Vindhya Mountains, and once you cross, there are a couple of passes. Once you cross the Vindhya Mountains, this is the kind of the key strategic junction. So always has been a very strategic place. So the first invasion usually comes from here. And there was a battle in Daulatabad, 1307, and with the riches and the reinforced strength, because a lot of the Maratha chiefs, they used to join with these armies. And then there was the attack on second invasion of Warangal in around 1310 CE. So that's when the second invasion of Warangal happened. I'll describe that in more detail in the next set of slides. So let's move on to the next one. Okay, so that's it. So I'll describe the invasion of Warangal in next slides, and also how Kafur kind of went further down. Okay, Kanadade will look at sometime later, because it's the heroism of the Chauhans of Jalore deserves a separate kind of presentation on its own. But I will cover Kanadade's brave fight and end as well sometime in this series. Okay friends, so thank you very much for your patience. I know today's presentation has kind of meandered here and there, and I have not been looking at the screens like straight, because I've been using a webcam. So hopefully this works. If it doesn't work, let me know in the comments. I'll switch back to the old camera setup. Okay, thank you very much, and I will see you next time. Thank you.